Hello and welcome to the third in a short series of episodes from the Full Force podcast, where we play each FSS figure against each other in a battle to see who is the greatest action figure the club released in the 8 waves of their figure subscription services. We are looking at each wave separately, of course, and having looked at FSS 1 and FSS 2 on the previous shows with Big Boa and Cesspool taking the victories, we now move on to FSS 3, and due to the awkward numbers that just don't really work in a playoff structure, we will be doing groups of 3 in the first round, and the mystery 13th will go up against the winner at the end. I am Christopher Bumbardier McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80, and joining me on this and all the episodes for this particular short series are Full Force regulars Adam Gland Slam Riches and Justin Messpool Bell. Now, before we get stuck into round 1, let's crunch the numbers with Adam Snitches Get Stitches Riches, Madam.
No doubt. FSS 3 was first revealed to us on April 13th, 2014 at the G.I. Joe convention in Dallas, Texas. It was available for order from June 3rd, 2014 through July 1st, 2014 and retailed for $377.50.
That's gone up.
Breaking down to a cool $29.03 per figure. The first shipment, containing Repeater and Psyche-Out, arrived to us on January 14th, 2015, a mere 312 days after FSS 2 had ended, and a cool 198 days since orders closed.
Wow.
Let's rock and roll.
Wow. There's some impressive numbers. I take it it's gone up again in price from the last FSS.
Yeah, not too bad this time, about 75 cents per figure.
Okay, that's not too bad, but it does continue to go up. Okay, well, anyway, thanks for that, Adam. Appreciated. Now let's get into round 1. Battle.
Round 1.
First up, we have Psyche-Out, Repeater, and Muskrat. Let's start with Psyche-Out here, guys. Adam, take us through your thoughts on Psyche-Out.
Well, I guess since I'm going first, I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room here, which is that at the time these were revealed, I should say, 5 out of the 12 figures are all repaints from the previous year's concept, so that stung a little at the time. Now, looking at them with some years of hindsight, they've aged remarkably well. Psyche-Out is a great figure.
Yes. Spoiler
build
alert.
Is awesome. Yeah. Build is awesome. Head sculpt is great. Accessories are awesome.
Boss
Whoever
fight
did
head
the card
sculpt.
art did a great job.
That was you.
All around, it was. All around, he's an awesome figure. But he's going to be up against some stiff competition.
Justin, what are your thoughts on Psyche-Out? Have we lost him? Are you on mute, Justin? Or have you?
I was on mute,
okay.
and I made a wonderful line about my competition being stiff, and I lost it.
Oh, you suck. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I do suck.
I'll leave that in there so you at least get the stiff competition joke in after the fact. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, he's a decent figure. I mean, he does have a great new boss fight head sculpt, even though we did see it, at the convention set during the convention set as well. I agree with Adam on a lot of his points about the fact that some of these were a bit painful, seeing as how they were available in the convention a short time before, or like immediately before they announced the lineup. I think a lot of fans were a little bit mixed as well, because I think part of them was happy that we were getting the standard repainted versions, but again, the other part was like, what the hell, we just got all these figures.
I was surprised that it took so long to come out for this FSS, when you consider how many of them are just repaints. And I mean, you could argue that Viper's a repaint as well, but just not of a recent figure as such.
Right.
But I mean, and obviously there's a lot of reuse of parts in there too. But again, when you look at this without that context, if you were to look at this FSS 3 generally, you kind of go, damn, that is a good lineup of figures. But yeah, when you take into account Repeater, Muskrat, Psyche-Out, the other two, Spearhead and Max.
Spearhead, yeah. And technically hit and run, even though the Night Force hit and run it was a little bit different. But.
Yeah, well, we'll come on to hit and run soon. But okay, with Psyche-Out, for me, I love the build. I thought it was good use of those kind of parts. I was a little bit kind of perturbed they didn't have the padded green shirt effect, But again, I understand. They've got to reuse parts, and it makes sense to do what they did with the build. I would say though, why have the accessories black? I just didn't get that at all.
Well, I think it's because they had reversed that and given the concept figure, the bright red dishes.
I see.
So
yeah.
this was kind of the fix if you wanted to swap them.
Interesting.
Which makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, why did they even do that to begin with? Why?
Maybe it makes genius sense. Who here bought both figures? Hey.
Damn you, Savage.
I'm not sure about that backpack on him though. You know, the is it the Zartan one?
Yeah, that's a little weird. But
I think that's the only.
Yeah,
I think that's the only thing that kind of brings him down in any way, shape, or form for me. But no, I think he's an awesome figure. I wanted him like crazy anyway, and I wanted him in his original colours. So if this is the way to get him in that in that way, then fine by me. Moving on then to Repeater. Justin, take us through Repeater, please.
Repeater is one of those. He's a strange update because the classic version, I didn't look at Repeater and think, wow, that's a really big guy.
Yeah.
But the club used a retaliation roadblock base figure for him and made him a really big guy, and I think it worked pretty well. I mean, the new head sculpt was absolutely fantastic, and again, it was used for the convention figure, but it was done really well for this one too, and I really like how they kind of had that callback to that famous comic book cover with Repeater on the cover there, and it looked pretty close to how he looked on that particular cover. But the build was fine. It was pretty much just from the parts themselves were pretty much straight retaliation roadblock from the neck down, with the the Resolute roadblock vest or some other vest on him besides
I'll check
not
some,
the retaliation roadblock one. But
I'll check some Losers website. Hang on.
Okay, that's a good idea. I can't think of the address off the top of my head, but
it's funny actually when you usually do the comparisons. There's not that much difference in height between the two figures, but the difference between the original Repeater and the new one is like it's almost like I'm looking at a Marvel Legends figure next to a Mask figure.
It is funny when you look at figures like this. For the longest time, this is kind of a sidebar, but for the longest time, Sergeant Savage seemed so out of place, and now he's literally the same height or shorter than figures like Repeater. So he's almost like the missing link now to tie the 94 to 97 era together.
Yeah.
No, overall, I thought the figure was really well done. It was I prefer the Night Force version just because I kind of like that color scheme better than the desert color, but I think to fill that important slot in that, I think it was 1988, I think it was good for them to get the regular deco out there as well, and they just did a great job on it. I'm
surprised, they didn't go with one glove on him like the original. Like I'm surprised they didn't do that, because I don't think people would have been upset with a one gloved thing. They'd know the reference, or they'd at least work it out when they. I don't know. I find maybe that was just like an ease kind of thing for them. It's just like, it's easier just to use these parts as, symmetrically. Yeah,
finding an arm that size or a hand that size without a glove on it might have been a challenge.
Maybe that was the problem. They had a just tiny hand on the right hand. No, this is not going to work.
Just paint it flesh color.
Yes.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Oh my god. I love that digital camo on anything, and it's used so much, like version 2 Storm Shadow and Recoil, and obviously Repeater, Shockwave uses it. I do love that effect, and I think on Repeater it really does. Like, I needed this color scheme myself personally. I needed to see him in this, and I think he's an amazing figure. Just like the Night Force version, absolutely stunning. What about you, Adam?
Funny enough, the Night Force version didn't really do all that much for me, and this one, for whatever reason, when I got it in hand, was like, I really love this figure, and I know it's the same thing, but for whatever reason, it just felt so different to me, and I really think it is partially the digital camo.
Yeah. But
I also think that sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but when I get the con sets, I tend to leave them in the box because the box is custom made for them. So you look at them at the show, and then ultimately they go back in there. But I think with these, I open them and I display them, and so it kind of felt like a totally fresh figure to me, because I don't think I'd really examined the Night Force one enough, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't think I really appreciated just how not only hefty this figure is, but just detailed, and just the build and the pieces really worked well together, and that head sculpt has so much personality.
Yeah, and I don't think I think it's probably a good thing they use that bigger body, because it gives him a bit more interest as a character as well, doesn't it? You kind of look at it and you go, damn, there's a lot more going on with that bigger, bulkier body. There's just it's weird, isn't it? It's like, effectively, it's just a bigger version of what we've been used to already, but there's something else about it. There's like certain proportions on the legs and the arms that just give it so much more personality just in the body. And that boss fight head is just sweet. All in all, a pretty solid figure. What about then Muskrat? So let's get Justin. Yeah, you can start us on Muskrat, please, bud.
Yeah, and Muskrat I liked a lot more than I thought I might originally. I mean, the knife, obviously, once again, it was another repaint of the convention figure that we had just recently got. I'm really a big... I don't know what it is, but I really like that Pursuit of Cobra kind of jungle Duke figure, and Muskrat was kind of an approximation of that, at least the arms, and I believe well, maybe not the torso, but maybe it's just the arms. So, but I love those arms anyway. But the kind of skinny arms that are really nicely posable and nicely flexible. They hold their weapons really well. The kind of the Pursuit of Cobra Snake Eye's legs and just that lamprey vest. It all comes together really nicely. Muskrat was one of those figures that just had a really excellent build, even though he doesn't have any distinctly new parts or new parts on the figure anyway. It's got that awesome board that he comes with.
I know, that's cool as hell, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the little handle on it, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird. Like, the FSS kind of hit its peak in this series with like some real creative choices where if you don't get a new head, or you can get a new boogie board or whatever, or some other kind of cool new parts, and then something happened shortly after this. I wonder what that was, where just suddenly that ingenuity and that creativity just sort of seemed to disappear.
Yeah, I must admit though, like in terms of a character being transferred into the modern era from the original, there aren't many that are as close as Muskrat is. Like that original figure looks, I mean, it just looks like almost identical in deco, in straps, in the positioning of things on the vest. That might, you could probably say the vest is slightly different, but I think there's so much that resonates very similar. The belts at the belt at the bottom of that vest really looks like the belt on the original Muskrat 2.
Yeah.
So like I kind of feel like it's one of those figures, other than the gloves, that everything really translates almost perfectly back to that original, and it's one of those figures that kind of stands out for me as a really good approximation of its original style.
Definitely.
I do have issues with that f***ing hat though. Like any time a hat like that seems to be done for the G.I. Joe line, it's just a balancing act. Like for some reason they, back in the day when you were, like that Sergeant Slammer hat on the Warthog Driver one, that like would get on there and it would be on there. And do you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't fall off or anything. And then they started making these hats, that kind of flexible plastic and everything. But none of them ever like really stay on there, do they? And like I had the problem with that with Ripcord as well in the Rise of Cobra line. Like you just put it on top and it just literally, if you move it any distance anywhere, that hat's falling off. What about you, Adam?
Does your hat fall off, Adam?
No, I have a really big head, so they tend to stay on there real good. I'm a reverse on this one from Repeater. I think that the Night Force deco was so much nicer looking on this figure because he had that nice like metallic fleck on the hat and vest, which I mean I know that has nothing to do with this figure, but I just felt like saying it. But the boogie board is a really awesome accessory that's extremely detailed, and it seems like, I guess like you were saying, there was just so much ingenuity and creativity at the time, and also just so much effort being put into these when you think that really is kind of, it is a unique accessory, but it's also not like a make or break for the character, and the build is so close to the original, you didn't really need that accessory, so I thought the fact that they included it really felt like it went above and beyond, like it really felt like a high value added accessory.
Although I have to disagree with you on the actual. I feel like that boogie board is so Muskrat. Like I feel like it's synonymous with him because it's on the front of it's on the card art as well, isn't it? Like I remember that accessory more than I remember most things of the G.I. Joe line. But that's just me personally.
It is, but wouldn't you have been just as happy if his stand was green with a red stripe on it?
That's actually a good point. That
was a joke, but. I also like
they put was it Iceberg's snowboard? They just painted that green.
Yeah, whatever, right? Make it your own, but live the adventure. But I thought the accessory choices were really cool on this. The bear trap from the Pursuit of Recondo is really cool, and the accessory coloring on these too, like the machete with that sort of like I guess metallic blue paint was really cool as well. So. Yeah. This first round, despite all of them just having come out of the previous year's con set, it's a real tough one. They're all great figures.
And with that said, less of the bullshit, guys. Let's pick a winner. We'll start with Justin Bell. What are you going for? Who? All right, okay. Let's go. Who got third place for you in this lineup?
Man, it's tough. I mean, you look back at series 1 and 2, and you had to pick from like Tiger Force Airtight or Tiger Force Shipwreck, and now you're talking about Psyche-Out, Repeater, or Muskrat. Third place, probably Psyche-Out got third place for me, but it's a pretty tough call.
What about you, Adam?
This is I honestly think of everything we've done thus far, this is probably the hardest round we've had, including the winter rounds. Third place is probably Muskrat.
Okay, that means I'm actually going to go, and this is I swear to you, I've already written my top 3 down, so I'm not going in, I'm not playing favourites or anything. I'm going third place Muskrat because I yearned for that Psyche-Out deco, but more so, I'm going to go next and be a douchebag. I'm going to say my winner in this round is Repeater. So over to you, Justin.
Yeah, I think, man, it's tough because Repeater didn't get, at least, Muskrat, even though he was just another con figure, he got that extra boogie board. Yeah. So I give him bonus points for that. But I think ultimately I agree. I think Repeater just barely edges him out.
Okay, and that means that Repeater's won, despite what Adam says. But Adam, who are you going
Adam,
for?
your opinion is invalid. It does not matter.
Well, here's the good news. It would have been Repeater anyway. Because... And I can't even explain why. That's the funny thing. I'm so into the 90s, and I love neon colors, and I look at that Psyche-Out, and, obviously I should have some bias. I drew the art for that figure, and I look at it, and I'm like, it's really cool, but there's just something about Repeater. Even though he's in olive drab and in the desert camo, and he's not really all that exciting, there's just something really cool about that figure.
He's awesome. Anyway, congratulations to Repeater. He moves on to the next round. We are staying in round 1. Next up, with Slice, Spearhead, and his trusty Bobcat Max, and Vipra. Let's start with Justin. Let's start with you on this one, bud. Slice. Take us through Slice for us, please. Slice, thank you.
Slice
Take
is
us through
awesome.
Slice.
I'm more of a Sprite guy myself, but I've drunk some Slice from time to time. No, Slice is amazing. I think they did a really fantastic job with this figure. Again, considering that, from the neck down, it was just that 30th anniversary Ninja figure tooling that we've seen so many times before.
That deco's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, the deco is incredible. Just the match of the black and the red, and the fact that they actually did the little diamond-shaped deco all across
they're like little shurikens, aren't they?
Yeah,
like the ninja
they are.
stars. I don't know what they
ninja
are.
Stars.
Yeah.
But yeah, this figure was just fantastic. Really, really nicely posable. The head sculpt is spectacular. It hits all the right notes. They've got some great accessories that come with him. He's really fantastic. One of the best figures. I
have to agree, and I also have to say that I think, again, it's another really solid approximation from the original. The only difference being that Tampo kind of thing on the original's arm, which I thought would have been nice for them to include on this, but instead they went for the Cobra sigil on the left breast. But still, I absolutely love it, and I think we all knew it was coming when. I think we all knew this figure was going to be coming anyway after we had Dice. So, but at the same time, I think this is actually. I think I prefer this out of Slice and Dice. Adam may disagree with me on that one, and we're going to find out now.
Well, I'm a real mixed bag of emotions on this figure. I don't actually think that from the neck down this is a great approximation. The body of this figure is a straight reuse of the 2012 Red Ninja from the Retaliation line, which is fine. But my problem with that is this figure has like what look like shin plates and knee pads.
Yeah. And
normally I would never be this nitpicky, except the 2011 Storm Shadow version 41 is literally the exact same figure as version 1 Slice from the neck down. He has the fabric knee pads and the shin wraps. So I'm like, why would you not just use that? Because if it was just sitting there and you didn't have to tool anything, it could have been perfect. So that's. Sure. I know it's nitpicky, but it was just sitting there for the taking, so why not?
I'll tell you something else though. If they'd have used, because I can see on the original net, like now when you're looking at it on the shin kind of section, if they'd have gone for that horrible like staggered shin guard thing that you see on like so many figures. Like I'm pretty sure I've seen those legs on like so many figures now that it's got to the point where I didn't like them in the first place. I honestly didn't like that kind of staggered shin guard thing. I think it was on like a training Snake Eyes or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy not to see that on this, which is something I think they could have easily gone with to make that look very similar. But I know, I think he looks amazing personally. I think he ties in. It's, you know, you look at it, you don't think anything other than Slice.
I am happy that they gave this figure a new head, because at the time, and I don't remember where it was originally included, but there was that.
Is that 3-pack, wasn't it?
Well, it was Temple Guardian Snake Eyes from Pursuit of Cobras, where they first included it. Yeah.
There were several figures that had basically what was a Slice mask and Dice too, and the Dice one was eventually used on Dice. So the fact that this actually got a unique head sculpt that really matched the original, I definitely appreciated. The swords, of course, are a perfect match to the original, so big props for that.
Yeah, those are cool, aren't they? They really are neat. The ones with the kind of like curved edges and then the kind of sharp half moon type finger guard type things. They're crazy cool. I
mean, for me being like the ultimate Ninja Force fanboy, I really could just be nitpicky and be like, the Tampo's not right and the shins aren't right, but ultimately this figure is awesome and I love it, so, you know, it's the best, and that's it. Anyway.
Okay, next up then, we've got Spearhead and Max. Let's hear from Adam first on Spearhead and Max.
Of the carryovers from the previous year's concept, this one is far and away the weakest in my opinion. The deco had color match issues to the original. Max looks like Chester Cheeto. The helmet doesn't have a great friction fit, like you said, with Muskrat's hat.
Yeah.
The bullet strap, I don't remember if it was rubber banded or glued on, but that was kind of wonky.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, not loving Spearhead here.
Which is a massive shame, because I love the original. I actually really thought the Night Force one was bloody gorgeous as well, and I agree with you. I think the deco has a lot to do with it. I think they do try to be subtle here and there, and then sometimes they'll copy it exact, and then sometimes they'll do Fun School colours randomly, and then sometimes, and I kind of think, man, there is no like specific deco style that the club really sticks to, which surprises me. It's like, are you going full on vintage? Because if you are, then make him the right bloody colours. You know, make him that ridiculous orange and really light tan. But anyway, Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Adam in pretty much every way. This was definitely not the strongest effort of either the convention set or these FSS kind of redos. That belt does not fit his waist at all. He's got that really terrible kind of, I think it's the Cobra Trooper torso that is so totally undetailed compared to the sleeves and the legs that if you take his vest off, he looks ridiculous. The Shockwave vest really isn't a good match for what he wore in his vintage version, and it doesn't really clasp very well on the side, and just all in all, it's not really a great look. So yeah, I totally agree that Spearhead is definitely the weak link in that convention set and kind of in that series of 1988 or whatever FSS figures.
Riddle me this. Why did they subdue the colours on Spearhead and increase the colours on Max to the nth degree? Because that makes no sense to me. Like, nope. I think, like, you know, it's a good attempt at trying to do something a bit different and maybe copy an actual Bobcat's kind of colouring. But you're right, he just looks like the Cheetos guy or Tony the Tiger, or he looks like a cartoon character in a way, which is a shame. It's a big shame. Again, I love this figure, the original figure. I absolutely adored Spearhead and Max. And I do like the Night Force version. I think the deco was enough to kind of really get me into that one. But yeah, it's Spearhead. It's a shame. Okay, Vipra, Adam.
This is another one that I think we talked about this before in FSS 1, but we had seen so many uses of Jinx between the two San Diegos and the previous FSS version and the Retaliation version that by the time this rolled around, I don't know, it didn't really do much for me. I don't even have much to say about it, honestly. I know they tried to mix it up a little by putting new legs on it, and I mean, I appreciate that there is at least something being mixed up in the formula, so you didn't just feel like you were getting a fourth repaint of the same Jinx figure. But I don't really have any particular attachment to the character either. So yeah, this one's just real middle of the road for me. This is kind of fills a spot in the lineup.
I think if you're going to do Vipra, you've really got to do the deco right as well. And I don't think the deco's done. I think it's just a lazy paint job. Like, I mean, who couldn't do that? Like, who couldn't do that with a Jinx figure? Just like literally just dip her in blue paint other bits black, and you've got it. And it just seems like shit, man. Like, why isn't there that kind of like crazy nice ghosty white going into blue, going into black effect on her deco.
Well, none of the club figures use spray masks, and the original is entirely spray mask. So that's the answer to that, I think.
I don't know. I just think it's a lazy cop out when you see they have done some really good decos of other stuff. I know what you're saying about the legs though. That's really cool because obviously she's a driver, isn't she? She's a kind of delivery person, basically like a ninja delivery person, and she's got like the case and everything. They tried to give her a bunch
30 minutes or it's free. Ninja pizza.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they kind of missed an opportunity here. I mean, I have an affinity for Vipra. I used her in my Dio stories quite a bit and kind of fleshed her out as a character. She didn't have a whole lot of backstory. But I mean, even when she first arrived in '98, like Adam said, she was a Jeep driver and a courier and wasn't really a ninja. But the vintage, they didn't have a whole lot of access to much vintage tooling, so we kind of got what we got. Whereas the club really, I would think they had some decent access to some more unusual tooling that they could have really done something neat, like completely reinvented her design to match her specialty or given her a little bit more flair or difference than just, like you said, a pseudo Jinx painted blue. I really like that they explored the character, but I really wish they put a little bit more effort into making her something new and unique rather than just doing a very poor job of trying to approximate her 98 paint job.
Okay, so with all that said, let's cut the crap again and get down to the nitty-gritty. Justin, who are you giving your third place to? Because again, I feel like this isn't done and dusted necessarily. It's still quite tight with these three.
Yeah, well, I think there's two kind of middle of the road and then one clear winner of these three. And I'd say Spearhead probably falls into my number 3 spot.
And Adam?
Yeah, I think Spearhead has to go number 3.
I'm going with Vipra, not that it makes any difference. That means then, who's taking it? Who's winning this, Justin?
Oh, Slice, without a doubt.
Adam?
Well, I mean, obviously it's going to be Slice, but I do want to say this before I deliver the death blow to Vipra. in 97 and 98, there were the only new characters we got at all were Brekov, Volga, Thunderwing, and Vipra, and that's such a overlooked era of G.I. Joe history. And for people that weren't collecting at that time, I really can't emphasize how exciting it was and how happy we all were to have Real American Hero back at retail after the line had been pulled.
Yeah.
So I do think that it was a good homage, and I'm glad that at least that era is represented in some way in the modern era. But, I mean, clearly Slice is the better figure.
I mean, we are really looking at the figure itself, aren't we? That's what we're doing in this particular series. There are other things we take into consideration, and obviously those things are worth talking about and worth saying. But at the end of the day, we're looking at the figure and we're looking at deco, build, all that kind of stuff. So I think accessories. So I think with that said, I'm going Slice as well. He goes through comfortably on that one, actually, more comfortably than I thought. And that means that Slice will move on to face Repeater later. But before we get into that, we're going to go flip over to the Eastern Conference. Hit and Run, Alpine, and Night Creeper Leader. So, let's talk through these ones. I'm going first with this one, just to Justin off, and I've really gone about this the wrong way. Adam should have talked about Slice. I should talk about none of them, and Justin should have talked about Hit and Run. But I'm going to say that a lot happened with this Hit and Run during the lead up to this actual figure coming out. This is not the one that we get. Is not the one they initially revealed. The main issue with this figure was the face paint, and people kind of kicked up a bit of a fuss and were like, this needs to change, etc., etc. And the club, fair enough, they have done it on a couple of occasions. With this, with another figure we'll bump into along the road of doing these FSSs in Salvo and loads of others. Where they have actually gone, okay, you know what, fair enough, that needs to be done. Or sometimes they'll say things like, oh, that was a mistake on our part, it should have been there, but it wasn't. So I think in this case, it was just a genuine, they didn't think it was that necessary. And clearly it was, because there was a big uproar about it. And we get this kind of new figure. Now, this is definitely an upgrade from the previous Hit and Run. I think, and I must admit, I do I love this figure. I think he looks amazing. I think the deco is on point. I think, there's loads about him. They've subdued the green of his skin, obviously, and it's just made like a hue of green, really, where you can see the flesh. But really, I do love what they've done with it. It doesn't exactly mirror the original. Like, you don't have that central segment of the kind of straps on his chest. Instead they've gone with like a pistol that slots into the front, which is, a little bit kind of like, random and out there. But at the same time, I think the figure is amazing. He's one of my favourites, and not to take the wind out of Justin's sails, but I'm glad I'm glad they've done him in the Night Force and the upcoming Tiger Force, Euro Tiger Force colours, because goodness me, I just love him to death. Justin, I'll let you take the reins on Hit and Run next.
Now, the only complaint I will have about Hit and Run is that I think Hasbro kind of spoiled us by showing us the concept case figure, because in my mind that concept case figure was the epitome of Hit and Run. That was the perfect update to Hit and Run, and nothing that the club did, except for an exact replication of that concept figure, was going to match, how much I enjoyed that figure. That being said, I mean, I think I really appreciated the fact that they did, make some changes, because it's a little debatable whether, like...
there was the secondary as well, wasn't there? Sorry, that was the other thing. It was the backpack they switched out, yes. Thank you, sorry. Yeah,
and I think like they were doing the parachute pack, as an homage to the Target version, and maybe the flesh color is an homage to Alpinista, which was one of the South American kind of variations of Hit and Run that didn't have green skin. I don't really know exactly what since his green, skin paint was such a core part of what made the character who he was, it really is bizarre that they would even entertain the thought of not doing that. But regardless, they did take some steps to resolve that, which is great. The end result is a really great looking figure that works really well. Is a nice, update to Hit and Run. And, I always used to complain that Hit and Run was such an underutilized character, and then the club goes and releases like in an 18-month span and totally proves me wrong. But
you got him in the 50th as well, didn't you? Jesus Christ. You got him in a sub team that doesn't exist. You got him in Wolf Squad. What is the other thing as well that I forgot to mention before is obviously, well, actually Adam can take us through that element. Do you want to go talk about Hit and Run, Adam?
Yes, I have a lot of opinions about this figure. The Night Force version from the year before, I had no interest in really, other than that I thought it was a pretty cool kind of subtle homage to an unreleased 1995 Hit and Run, and so that was kind of a neat little sidebar there. The concept case version, though, like Justin said, is the epitome. I mean, it couldn't get any better. Like, it's just an amazing figure. Like, I think that still to this day holds up that would hold up against any G.I. Joe figure today. And he sorely needed an update because the 2009 Hit and Run looks like a piece of broccoli with camouflage on it. So
it was awful.
Yeah, and he has those horrible falcon arms, I think, right? That's a terrible figure. So, although that does raise an interesting question in that why didn't they use the web gear from that figure, which would have been a more accurate version 1 match. But whatever, I digress. The original version that they showed for this was not good, and the update is significantly better. And I really, really like this figure. The only one thing that still kind of annoys me about it, and this is the same thing with Vipra and not being able to use spray apps, is that his beard looks like it pulled the rooting out of a doll's hair. Like, it's so perfect and so symmetrical. And it's not that you couldn't do that with a Tampo if the dots were more scattered and random, but the fact that they're like so perfectly placed, like it reminds me of this is so random, but it reminds me of Michael Jackson when he's having that Martin Bashir interview and he's like, people are so ignorant. They say that I have each hair surgically implanted in my one by one. And I'm like, that's kind of what this reminds me of. Like, there's no human on Earth.
I've got to find that video to splice in now. Thanks.
Keep splicing.
Oh, you don't need to find. I know exactly where it is.
Good.
But yeah, those minor grievances aside, this is a really great figure and definitely one of the high points of this FSS. And also, I think of the, I guess we'll call him one of the convention repaints. To me, he feels the most different.
Yeah. I also think that beard reminds me of old school comic shading, when they would just use dots in the background or like on to shade things, or like they couldn't be bothered to fill it all in one color. They just kind of like have those dots. But I love Hit and Run. But anyway, let's move on to Alpine. And Adam, take us through Alpine, please.
At the time that this was announced, I was a little taken aback because, if you remember the 2000, 8 or 9, the DVD 5-pack version was incredibly hard to find, and so everyone was really bitter about not having Alpine. And so when they announced this, I thought they were just gonna like redo version 1 or something in cartoon colors. So the fact that they did this figure and they based it off of one of the lesser loved eras of G.I. Joe, the what was it, 2004 version?
Yeah, Valor versus Venom, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And at the time they had just had that the Battleground phone app card game, and that had some really striking art of him in this costume. And so I thought that was a really cool thing. And this was one of those ones that the Quinn tooling had only been used previously on Quinn, and so getting a figure in shorts is incredibly rare in G.I. Joe. There might only be a handful in the entire 30-year history. So I thought that made this figure really unique. And the climbing gear worked really well. So, and of course he has a new head, which also brilliant design on the I guess hat or helmet or hard hat, whatever you want to call it, that has a clip molded on it so that the pre-existing goggles would snap in place. So this is one of those figures that like you didn't think you needed it until you had it, and you're like, man, it's like just a great choice of parts, great color combination. So and kind of a left field choice, but really hit the spot.
I know I'm kind of like the deco guy. It appears when we talk about these things, but I like the fact that they didn't just do what, because obviously they're like Sony versions of that Alpine from those 2-packs, because there is even a white one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't do the white skin version just to like really mix it up a little bit with the homage.
They could have done the same thing with Repeater too. In 2009, he switched as well. But
exactly, yeah. Well, the thing with the deco is the fact you've got the green shirt from one of the versions, you've got the maroon helmet and shorts from another version, and you've got green boots from another version. So it's kind of like I like the fact they just mixed it up a bit rather than going. I mean, he's closer to the green version in general anyway, but obviously the maroon elements come from the yellow and maroon version. So I kind of feel like they were kind of mixing it up a little bit just to cover all the homages, and so they didn't have to make 3 of these figures.
I actually felt like he was a really like a almost good like subtle nod to version 1.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, there is that there, but I still feel like there are so many. Oh, sorry, you mean the actual version 1 Alpine?
Yeah, the 85 Alpine.
Yeah, true. Very good point. Same. Yeah, with that color scheme is definitely similar, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they managed to take the 5 pre-existing Alpines and combine them all into one figure.
That's what you get. That's what you get after Alpine
the fact
orgy.
They did that without making it look totally ridiculous is pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, it is. He's a winner for me. Sorry, that's a big spoiler alert. I mean, in general, I think he's a very good figure.
I do have to say one thing that I can never get this line out of my head. There's a YouTube reviewer I'll give a shout out here to, Mr. 1013. Have you guys ever seen his videos?
I know the name.
No.
Oh, so I always remember, because I always laugh about this. He would always he'd show the card art, so obviously it was mine. So he showed that, and then he shows the figure, and he's like, "Man, this looks just like the card. It's so cool, but that face, he's cheesing like a rat. Like he just ate some cheese." And that always, because he's got this like kind of like sinister grin with a little mustache curled up.
Yeah, it is a funny grin.
There we go. So yeah, he's like got this kind of rat. Kind of sneaky cheese with his, I don't know if it's the mustache or what's going on here, but he has a real, just like, kind of thing going on, you know what I'm saying? But, it's still a decent hair sculpt, you know what I mean?
Always made me laugh.
But that to me is Alpine. Like I like to have a bit of cutesy feature in the face going on, because he was always such a like, I don't know, he's just such a funny character in the cartoon.
The lamb sucker's been cut. How you spicing?
But such a good one. Like he wasn't like Bazooka necessarily, but they worked well nicely together. And I think Alpine was just so like he was a big character in the Sunbow cartoon, and a strong one. So I kind of feel like his personality pours out of this figure, like really really well, more so than the 80s DVD box set version. So, okay, that's Alpine. And also, we've got to give a shout out to the card art there, Adam. That is an impressive drawing. Now, when I did the battle with G.I. Joeberg, Stephen and the rest of the guys, they were having this kind of conversation about Well, how is his rope working? Is he just hanging from something and shooting at something? Because there doesn't seem to be any rope going through like you would have when you're rappelling.
The figure only comes with one string. I draw what he came with. You know.
You see, I did say that to them in the thing, but I don't know. I think it was okay. But that's fair enough. We just wanted to clear that up. So it's literally because you do what the figure comes with, right?
Basically, either that or what I'm directed to do. I mean, obviously in a perfect world, they draw them all in these fantasy scenarios with accessories they don't come with and everything else. But
that's good. It's good to know, and I'll pass that along if they're not already listening to this. Next up, then, and a real controversial decision when he popped up on the reveals back in the day, Night Creeper Leader. Adam, take us through your thoughts when you first saw the LA Lakers' new signing.
Yeah. the new team captain, balling with Kobe and Shaq.
And now LeBron.
Yeah, I do take some umbrage with this one. I really, really love Night Creeper Leader from the Deke series, and obviously one of my favorite things to say whenever I bump into things is, "He is, I am." So, I really love this figure, or I really love this character, I should say. The build is, it's a little all over the place. I do feel like that leaves something to be desired, but I could see past that. For me, when I think of Night Creeper Leader, I think of the Deke series, and I think of him in the same outfit as a Night Creeper, but with, the headdress. If we were going to do this version of him, though, I think, like most people, I would have really preferred the 93 Tiger Stripe version and the orange and black. Just personal preference. That aside, though, just with what we have here, I get what they were going for with the painting the skull cap so that he looked like he had the full headpiece, but the original one was gold, so it was kind of strange to have that be black, but I guess they wanted to unify all the colors or whatever. But my biggest issue with it, more than anything, is that the bandana or eye mask, or whatever you want to call it, does not cover enough of it, and so always he looks like he's got like a yarmulke on, and then like a string around his eyes, and there's just like forehead exposed. So
this is a figure that desperately needed a new head sculpt.
Yeah, I think so, and one probably, with a dedicated sculpt of the eyepiece. With
the fact that you've got that orange version as well, you're then thinking, okay, well, at least there's a time we can reuse this again. And people will be happy because it'll be the original version that people were expecting. Now, I didn't have a problem at the time when it was purple and gold, because I was thinking, we'll get the other version. We'll get the orange and black one. No worries. We'll just wait. It'll be the same.
The club will live forever.
It'll be fine. But unfortunately, that was not the case. Still, I'm still not that far. I mean, I'm happy again. Like I'm not upset with the decision to go with this version. However, I do agree with you on the head, the yarmulke. Even just paint it gold, please. Just paint the thing gold, and at least you take that as a problem away from it as well, And yeah, I think it's just kind of silly that you can see his eyebrows between the two. I think it looks really weird. I like the idea with the kind of harness. I think that does a good job of what he's got in the original. But I would have, I think a new secondary probably would have worked better, and then they could have done, some deco element on the pants or something, or try and find. I'm sure there's a figure with like those little belt clip type strap type things that are folded down, but that I can't think off the top of my head at the moment. So yeah, a few things about that. Yeah, I do agree with you. I do. Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think they missed a really good opportunity to do what Adam said. It showed a little bit of a lack of awareness. They assumed that anybody who likes G.I. Joe is, ultra serious military, Marvel comic. They won't appreciate the humorous, deep cartoon references. But, I mean, it was either right around here or shortly around this time, Hasbro showed the concept case Night Creeper, which was basically, a similar build, probably not the same, but similar, but in Night Creeper colors. And I mean, if they had released an FSS update to that Night Creeper with, one head being the crazy Deke guy head and the other head just being a standard Night Creeper for army building, I think fans would have really loved it. And the crazy people like Adam who actually wanted a Deke cartoon reference would have what they want, and then all the normal people would have what they want too.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could have killed two birds with one stone and really showed like a little bit of a sense of humor about the whole thing. But instead, they just kind of went with this direction. And ultimately, I didn't have a huge issue with the color palette. I was actually one of the folks that didn't mind it.
Same.
Kind of because it actually, one thing that I sort of tied together again in my Dio stories was that back in 2003, there was when they introduced the Black Dragons as part of the G.I. Joe history in one of the convention sets back in the O-Ring days. If you look at the color scheme of that Night Creeper leader, it actually closely resembles the Black Dragon, kind of troopers and stuff. So I kind of tied them together that way. So cool. I can see why the club would have done the same thing, saying it matched one of the color schemes for their Black Dragon convention set. But ultimately, I think most of the fans would have either preferred the straight up Night Creeper repaint or the orange and black, and I wouldn't have blamed them at all for wanting that.
I still think there'd have been problems with the builds. Like it still would have been an issue with them. Okay, well, having said all that, who's going through on this one? Adam, let's just go straight to the winner on this one. Who's winning this round?
That's tough. I mean, well, first of all, I am not in the competition, so see you later, Night Creeper leader.
Where's your third place? Got you.
I think this is tough. I really like both Alpine and Hit and Run. Obviously, we know which way Justin's going, so it depends on how you vote to keep this alive. So just to keep things interesting, I'm going to let Alpine keep splicing into the next round.
Keep splicing!
Damn, son. Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with the fact that Alpine's a great figure. I mean, they use some really good parts for him, and I love it when they tap into the Valor versus Venom era and do it well. And he does have a lot of character in the head sculpt. But yeah, ultimately, I've got to go with Hit and Run just because he's my favorite character, and this is probably the best modern version of him.
You sicken me. Right, I am gonna... This is difficult too, because I love the Hit and Run figure, but there are things I can pick out on it that have issues. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like
there's things I can pick out on you that have issues too, Chris.
Snoop Dogg!
Yeah, true. We'll be doing the Chris McLeod battle later, and then you can pick me apart, Deco as well.
On the video when he said that, that's the part where the glasses drop down and the Thug Life theme plays over Justin.
And the glasses, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Anyway, yeah, I'm okay. Well, you, Justin. Hit and Run loses. He comes third now. No, like the thing with the Hit and Run is like, obviously you got the beard is a bit of an issue. The secondary is a bit kind of, it's not really the same as the original. There are a few elements on him that you could kind of improve, and they have done with the concept case and just didn't bring it out. There's a few things like that they almost made a mistake with him. I can't really hold that against the figure because it's out and this is what it is now. But with Alpine, I look at Alpine, I think I was like, oh my god, because when it was revealed, I remember they revealed the lineup and they just had an image. Or I think it was his card art from that era. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, cool, it's the one with the shorts. And so, I just thought, that might be neat for them to do. And then when it was revealed, I remember having that instant, yes, they've nailed that. Absolutely nailed it. The parts are right. He looks great. The accessories are cool. He's massively improving on the original, massively, because it looks weird, that original figure. It's like his legs get bigger as they leave the shorts. It's really weird.
Just strong legs. He climbs. What do you want?
That's true. That's very true. I'm holding it against him though. And the face was always so weird. And the fact that they made him white in one of the versions was the most mind-blowing thing ever. So to get, that one of lots of different elements thrown in to get that one, I really love that. It's something that you don't see from the club that often. It's something they can't really do that often. When you think about it, there aren't many opportunities where they get a figure like this that's had, say, 3 or 4 repaints around it in the same year, I think it was, or maybe spread of a year and a bit, maybe 2 years. To have that option to go, well, people aren't that fussed with what version we do, so let's just kind of take a little bit from each one. I honestly think that's the only time they could do this, or there may be a few others here and there, but it's very rare. So I think because of that, Alpine's going through because I just can't pick any faults with him. The card art's a bit shit, But I'm just kidding. Actually, the card art's amazing, and actually got really far in that battle as well, because it's just so dynamic and fun and very much G.I. Joe of the 80s. Like that's the kind of card art you look at that you could easily go, oh, that must have been what he looked like back, if you weren't a fan, that must have been what he looked like in 80. That must have been what he was doing on the card art back then, because it just captures that fun action, something's happening, something different's going on, and that's awesome. So anyway, yeah, we're not doing the art battle, that's for another time. So congratulations to Alpine. He moves on. Sorry, Hit and Run. Sorry, Hitting Justin.
I'm out.
he's cut off. He's just hung up. Let's move into the final round 1 on this Eastern Conference, which is Bomb Strike, Crimson Guard Immortal, and Big Ben. This is another good lineup of figures, actually. This is harder for me than I think the first lot. Anyway, Justin, take us through Bomb Strike, please.
Bomb Strike is another one of those kind of new characters that came out of the modern era, and I really like what they did with that whole Stahl family storyline. And originally in Valor versus Venom, she was a pretty decent figure there. They had kind of, when she was released, they had ironed out a lot of their proportion issues, a lot of their sculpting bulk difficulties.
Bloody hell.
She wasn't perfect, but she was better than a lot of the stuff from that era. And the club, with their update, really totally completely nailed her. She had a great head sculpt, kind of a really creative, inventive use of repurposed I think Renegade Scarlet parts and Retaliation Lady J parts, and it just ended up really cool, really nicely done, great accessories, just all around very, very cool update.
They definitely improved on the original in design too, I think. The original just kind of felt to me like it was just G.I. Jane. That's what it felt like. It was like Bomb Strike, yeah, okay, but it's G.I. Jane, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That was in my head the whole time when I looked at that figure. And the fact that they did so much design-wise on her, like so many nice little touches, and like the brightening up the camo on the pants, the taller grey boots, the gloves, the fact she's got like the black shirt underneath, the tan body armor, and the head sculpt's really nice as well. It's like really, really cool. So yeah, I'm definitely down. I think this is one of my favourite female figures of all time, I think, in the G.I. Joe line. Adam, yourself?
Yeah, this was one that I when I was collecting the mid-2000s stuff, I got into a little late. I probably didn't start collecting like the Valor vs. Venom and Spy Troop stuff until around 2008. So I was getting it on the cheap in big lots. And so that was the original Bomb Strike really stood out to me as like, well, this is a really good figure from that era. Like, it felt special. And when this one was first shown, I think I looked at it and kind of was like, oh, it's just Scarlet, with a new head. But it really isn't, actually. In fact, the only part at all that it reuses is the torso from that Renegade Scarlet. Everything else is mixed and matched, and it works really well. Sometimes when you Frankenstein stuff together, you'll get like really wide hips or arms that are too big or something. But this one,
I have that problem.
Which one was it? Was it the range Viper?
Oh, it was Skullbuster. Yeah, the arms that go down past his knees. This one though, the build is extremely proportional. Everything works really well. Yeah, like you said, I think that the black shirt under the Kevlar vest or whatever works extremely well. And really and this is a very minor gripe I have about this figure that kind of is just weird to me, is that her eyebrows are the same blonde as her hair, and because it's so close to the color of the skin tone, she kind of looks like she has no eyebrows.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's a really it's a minor thing. I mean, it doesn't really, but usually on blondes, like you'll see that their eyebrows are still like a hair darker usually, so they kind of contrast with their skin, but. I mean, that's so nitpicky. This is a really good figure, and the reuse of the drone from Data Viper is so cool. The
fact that she's because I mean she's Bomb Strike, so she's calling them in. I love that angle. It's like she controls the drone with the briefcase kind of thing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean the deco on this one is really good too. I mean, again, minor grievance that for whatever reason the knee pads weren't painted, but I don't think they're actually knee pads because they have fabric wrinkles in them. So that's a little wonky, but I mean. Easily forgivable because this figure really works on so many levels. I think this is easily one of the home runs of this subscription.
And also, again, it's not the card art battle, but really like iconic card art from Adam again on that one. And yeah, and I kind of have an affinity to this character now as well. Even like before my wife cosplayed as her, but when Kate cosplayed as her, it was like, okay, so I have to like this figure now. But,
so when Kate cosplayed as her, it was like, she is, I am.
She's now I'm the Night Creeper leader now. But no, honestly, I mean, she did an amazing job of the cosplay as well. I'll flash that up too. Unbelievable job of that. And yeah, so this is a good figure to start with. Okay, Crimson Guard Immortal, Adam.
When this was first shown in the concept case, I think we were all kind of just, we've talked about this before too, that anything new has this aura of excitement around it. No, I can't have it. That means it's great. But, in hand, like it's a perfectly fine figure. The original concept case one was supposed to come with the big like Gatling machine gun or whatever, which he does not have. And no great loss. He does come with one of the original Crimson Guard Immortal rocket launcher, the dual rocket launcher. It would have been nice if he had two, just like the original, and they could have had the bullet strips to connect to the backpack or whatever. But minor stuff. The flag is a cool accessory. This one for me, and I know part of it's just because Bomb Strike and Big Ben are in the same round, but this figure just really doesn't. He's cool, and the head sculpt is really great, but it doesn't like blow me away like the other two do. So I think just by virtue of the round he's in, he's fallen short.
Justin.
Yeah, actually, I agree with pretty much all of that. I mean, the original Crimson Guard Immortal is one of my favorite vintage figures for some reason. I don't really know why, but he's
awesome.
Well, he is awesome, yeah. And they do a lot of things right with the modern version. I mean, I really like the shade of red and kind of the black contrast, and the silver is very vibrant and bright and done really well. But yeah, I mean, like Adam said, just against all the other figures in this figure subscription service, the fact that he's got those kind of retaliation Cobra Trooper arms that are a little bit kind of funky. I can't really explain why, but they just don't work quite as well as some other parts do. So it's a fine figure, but it doesn't really blow me away.
What I have a problem with this figure is again, I'm one of those guys that likes that kind of vintage original kind of design to be then almost transplanted onto the modern figure. And I know I speak for, I suppose, quite a large amount of Joe fans on that side, because obviously it's always asked for, isn't it? The vintage elements are put onto that modern version. So this one, it feels like they've done a really good job of finding parts that do kind of give that almost like if you blur your eyes, they look the same. But when you really get down to it, there are so many differences that it's like a different, it's almost like an update design to me. So then I lose a little bit of interest in a way. I feel like the kind of the secondary, like the kind of armor, if the fact that that's like a duller gray does kind of bug me, because that's not what the original's covered in that shiny kind of silver effect. There are no shoulder pads, and considering they put shoulder pads on figures that don't need it, why are we not getting shoulder pads when they do? So I kind of feel like like Falcon's got shoulder pads, why? Big Bear's got shoulder pads, why? This guy doesn't have shoulder pads, why? So but again, there are some touches on it that I do like. The tampo, the fact they put it on those little black armbands to make it pop a little bit more, is a nice touch. But to me, this is like an upgrade. It's almost like a Pursuit of Cobra version of the Crimson Guard Immortal, which I do, I like the angle, but again, I'm a vintage lover, or at least the original figure. I want that to be kind of, it's hard to explain, isn't it? Because effectively you're updating it because you're putting it into a modern build, but to actually take the design cues and make them almost identical but on the modern figure is what I'm getting at. And I don't think it really does its job here.
When I look at the original version, because obviously all the original O-Ring figures are the same scale and size and build, but you kind of imagine them as having different, like you imagine Sergeant Slaughter would be big. When I look at this figure, the original version, he's like this interesting mix of like very regal looking, but also very like hefty. Like I almost imagine like he would be built like he had like football shoulder pads on. I almost imagine in the modern era that this figure should be built something more along the lines of Moneybags Destro.
Yeah.
And when you look at this FSS 3 version, he looks like he has this really hefty torso. Like he has like this thick padded like life vest on, but then he has these very thin arms and legs comparatively.
Yeah.
And I feel like that seems odd, because if anything, you'd think that he'd be more top heavy and not so much in the torso. You'd think that he'd have like bigger, broader shoulders, bigger, beefier arms, because he looks like, if he's going to be out fighting in the front lines, he would be really, pumped up. So he just looks kind of like deflated. Like he's got more of like he looks more like the Emperor's Royal Guard versus like the linebacker that I imagine him being.
Agreed. Okay, let's move on to the last figure then of the entire lineup. Well, not the last figure technically, because there is a mystery 13th. Spoiler alert! And that is Big Ben. Justin, take us through Big Ben, please.
Well, this is another figure that really hits a lot of high points for me. He's got a fantastic new head sculpt, which is always a nice thing for an FSS, something that they've kind of gotten away from in recent versions. Got a great mix of modern parts, uses some really nicely articulated arms, so he can get some really great firing poses. I love the little Bluetooth, earpiece sculpted into his ear. I like that his colors seem like they're a little bit different than the vintage version, maybe to more closely match, some of the Z-Force stuff from Action Force or Z-Force, whatever you guys.
It's Z-Force, by now.
But it's a great update. I mean, there's some minor quibbles you could make, but really it's a pretty fantastic figure overall. I think it does, or it will suffer a little bit just by the company it keeps, but it's still a very, very nice update.
I would say that, there's a few... I love it. I absolutely love this figure. I feel like the build is one of those... I think it works for him. I feel like the choice of parts work for this character. I mean, I love the original. The original is one of those figures I just... obviously he's SAS, so he's like, he's British. It's like, oh my God, like, we've got another one. Brilliant. But what was weird was that obviously he came out in the US, and I remember seeing him in the US stores and being like, oh my God, they've got like, what? Who's this? It's a Brit. Wow, this is cool. So it was weird that even though we had a lot still going on in the UK, that the US would sneak a British operative into their lineup for that year, because it was always very much just everyone's from the US. Everyone's from... And fair enough, it's a real American hero. It's not a real Bosnian hero or a real Somalian hero, or international heroes. But I just absolutely loved the fact that they did it, and he just got bonus points for that. This version, I think, is just superb. They nailed it. I love the fact that they've got the cross bandolier. The head sculpt from Boss Fight is out of this world. I love the fact they gave him the little Bluetooth headset. I think that is amazing. I get what the club are doing in kind of squeezing him into Special Action Force and putting the British the Union flag on his arm and everything. And it is a Union flag. Can I say it's not a Union Jack unless it is hoisted on a boat? So just to throw that out there again, I think I've said it before on this show, it is a Union flag, okay? Not to be confused with another Union flag. But anyway, again, I think the figure's amazing. I think the positioning you can get him into, like he's got really good like positioning and balance, and I think he's great. I just think he's a solid figure for me. Adam,
this figure is absolute hot fire. It's so awesome. There's just so many little details to pick apart. Like if you look at even like the choice of arms, the fact that there's this flat, perfect area to put the Union flag tampo.
Thank you.
Or, well, I guess on the other side, the SAF doesn't work quite as well, but it's a nice flat area to put it. The little skirt piece is a perfect match to the vintage. The colors, like you said, are a little darker, which I guess that's not the biggest deal in the world.
It's actually not that far removed from the original. Like it's not that far. I mean, again, I think. Would you prefer the deco to match it identically?
I'm not like a stickler for that on every figure. I think the reason I like it better on the original for Big Ben specifically is just because the value, which for non-artists is like the relationship between lights and darks. If you squint your eyes and you look at this figure, he kind of blends together. Whereas if you squint at the original, you can clearly pick apart where the pants and torso separate.
Yeah.
And so I just think that the lighter pants and the darker shirt combo works a little better.
Yeah.
But that's such a minor nitpicky whatever. He does have the weird, knee pads on the outside of his pants thing, which I know that there are real pants that exist like that. But that's kind of the same thing with like Falcon's shoulder pad. That stuff is always just sort of strange looking to me, but such a minor thing.
Also, it's a bit. I mean, I agree. Like, I'd wish they would like maybe do some more vintage style like legs for that, so you didn't have to always have knee pads. But I get that they're just doing it so that it all ties together as like, you know, oh, they all buy the same knee pads.
Yeah, I mean, and it does give a nice color balance to the torso, so it's not really a big deal.
It's a break as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he again with if you wanted to have perfect vintage matches, there are figures. I think Retaliation Duke might be one that have a little like stirrup things on the boots so that you could cover those. So he doesn't have that, but again, whatever. The accessory loadout on this figure is great. It not only matches the original, but actually surpasses it because he has all of the same accessories plus removable bandoliers as well as an additional grenade launcher and machete.
Yeah.
And he still comes with his original 2 grenades, which is a super cool accessory.
Agreed.
This is another one of those ones, and also I guess I should say, like, I really, really loved Big Ben as a kid. He was, in fact, he was one of the very few figures that I even, like, actually remembered his file card details. Like, there was something about the line of him having to carry around 50 pounds of equipment to prove how tough he was. That I was like, man, he is such a badass. He can carry 50 pounds. I can only pick up 4, you know? Like, I think he always had a special place for me because of that. So this is one of those ones that I don't think I really needed an update or didn't know I needed an update of. And when I saw it, I was just like, man, this just worked so much better than you thought it would. Because, there are some figures that when you first hear the announcement, you're like, how's this going to work? Because you know, obviously, the limitations of tooling. But when it works, it really works. And this one did. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to produce something better, even with all the toolings that has come out since then. This is just a A-plus figure all around.
Big time. Okay. Let's cut to the chase. Justin, take us through your 3 to number 1, please.
3, I think I would have to say Crimson Guard Immortal.
Yeah. Just
not a bad figure, but compared to the other 2, it's not quite there. I would say number 2... I hate it's painful to do it, but I got to put Big Ben at number 2. I think Bomb Strike I just like a little bit more, but it's so close. But I got to give this the slightest bit of edge to Bomb Strike.
Wow. Okay, Adam.
Well, for the sake of suspense, how about I just eliminate my 3rd right now, and you eliminate your 3rd? Okay. By Crimson Guard Immortal.
Yeah.
Now, who are you getting rid of?
I'm getting rid of Crimson Guard Immortal. So it's
my god, I can't believe it.
So...
Okay.
So it's down to Bomb Strike and Big Ben.
All right, so which one's pulling the oxygen? Is it you or me?
You go first.
All right. This is incredibly hard. I almost want to like flip a coin on this one. I have, personal feelings towards both, as Big Ben being a favorite as a kid and as Bomb Strike being one that I worked on. Bomb Strike, I feel like, is a very good functional figure. Like, the build works so well and balances so well, you can get a lot of really great poses out of her. And, there aren't that many female figures, so there's that to weigh. I'm almost kind of like talking myself through this because I really can't decide. This is a very hard one. I mean, part of me wants to just say Big Ben to screw you up, and also because I know which way you're going to go, I think. But then part of me's like, which one do I actually like better?
Just go with what you actually like better, because I don't think you know which one I'm going to go for.
All right,
You think this is difficult for you? I've got like a connection to both of these in like hard ways, like I have I should probably rephrase that. Strong connections to both of these figures. Do you want to be the casting vote? Because I'll go and then you can have the casting vote.
Sure.
I am going Big Ben, and I know Kate's going to probably divorce me, but I just, the figure had more of a, obviously a much longer connection with it was, obviously it was an older figure, and I loved it back then. I was amazed they even did a figure from Britain, in that lineup for that year. So I was like stoked as hell to like go, oh my god, it's one of ours, it's an SAS guy. So I was like really, really super happy that they did it, and yet it felt like an American figure. Like, it didn't feel like a British figure. It didn't feel like it lived in England. Like, the dude was in the Deke cartoon and he was in the US the whole time. It was just that they wanted to mix up the international aspect. Bomb Strike is an amazing figure, don't get me wrong. An amazing figure. It's one of my favourite, if not my absolute favourite female figure that's out there. But, there is one that's better. But for me, Big Ben has it for the the significance. So you have the deciding vote, Adam. Who are you going for? Who's winning this?
I've decided that the only reason I can come to terms with this is because I don't think this is going to win regardless. So we're just going with Bomb Strike here.
Oh my word!
Whoa!
I can't believe I wasted so much time talking about Big Ben. Okay. Okay, so congratulations to Bomb Strike, and now I definitely am getting divorced. So Bomb Strike moves through, and I must admit, like, it was close. It wasn't like an easy decision, but it was close. Bomb Strike goes through to face Alpine in the next round. But before we get to that, let's hit up the first of our round twos by switching back to the Western Conference. Round 2! And that is Repeater and Slice. So, Repeater and Slice is going to be quick fire now, guys. Justin, who do you give the win to here and why?
This is a harder decision than what I named my children, I think.
You can always make more of them, but you can only make this decision once.
That is a
genius.
Good point. Actually, technically, I can't make any more of them. I've had some work done, but anyway,
it might be reversible.
No, he's had a vagina fitted, so it's completely pointless now.
the kind of work I'm talking about. Yeah.
He's just had a fleshlight put in there. Sorry, carry on. I'm gonna have to edit so much of this out.
Repeater.
Repeater takes the lead early on. Okay, Adam.
I really love them both, but I would be betraying everything I stand for if I didn't go Ninja Force here, because Slice is still sitting on my desk to this day. So Slice it is.
To make this easy and quick, I'm sorry, I'm going Repeater because he's just absolutely awesome. So congratulations, Repeater. You move through to the next round. Round 2! Now, the other round 2 is between Alpine and Bomb Strike. So, Adam, who do you give the win to here and why?
This is much like the Bomb Strike Big Ben decision. They're just both really great figures, and it's so evenly matched. I think I'm just going to go Bomb Strike only because female Joes are so few and far between, and especially once they're this good. So, and she's only her second figure. Alpine has like 6. So
interesting. Justin.
Yeah, interesting that it's a battle of the Valor versus Venoms. But yeah. I'm going to go with Bomb Strike as well. I think, like Adam said, I really like the fact that such a nicely done female figure was available in the modern era, and she's got the connections to the Stahl storyline, and her accessories of the drone and the little suitcase computer and that stuff just kind of is the icing on the cake. So I got to go with Bomb Strike.
Awesome. I don't have to worry about this one. I don't even have to tell you what I was going to go for in the first place. But just to save my marriage, I'm also going to vote Bomb Strike on this one. As much as I do love that Alpine figure, I think he's wonderful. But I think Bomb Strike edges it again. She's one of the best female figures in the line, and she's really, really strong. So congratulations, Bomb Strike. You go through to face Repeater in the first of our odd finals, or round 3. Round 3! It's more of a semi-final, but whatever. So we have, in this semi-final, /round 3, Repeater versus Bomb Strike. Not a bad 2 figures here to be going at it. But again, it makes for a very difficult final. Justin, take us through who's winning this one. Bloody hell.
Oh, man.
My God, this is hard.
It is hard. We knew this was going to be a tough one, I think, when we were kind of setting this up. But Repeater, Bomb. You know what? Ultimately, Repeater's a great figure. Bomb Strike's a great figure. I like Bomb Strike's accessories a little bit more, and she's not a repaint of the convention figure, so I'm going Bomb Strike.
Wow. Okay. Bomb Strike takes it early, and to be honest, I'm going to go next, Adam, because I want you to have the casting vote. I'll say casting vote, because I'm going to go Bomb Strike. But yeah, for the same reason Justin just mentioned, the fact that Repeater was the repaint, and as much as I loved him and I wanted that deco so bad, I feel like Bomb Strike is so unique and so original, and so the fact they did a complete redesign on her and made her really cool is just, it's too much to avoid, and I didn't want to get divorced. So Adam, who you got anyway?
Yeah, well, I don't think I initially even really felt that I needed or wanted Repeater, and only felt excited about that figure once I had him in hand, whereas Bomb Strike, on the other hand, felt like a very necessary and much wanted update. And I think so obviously I'm choosing Bomb Strike, but I think that the thing that speaks the highest volume about this figure is that still currently, as of this recording, she's currently being featured in the IDW Real American Hero comic in the design of this figure. And so the fact that a club creation still years later is enduring to that point that it's being cosplayed, and I think that tells you everything you need to know. This is obviously a great design, great figure.
And let's face it, that new IDW run with Bombstrike, the way they've done her character is superb. The way they've built her as a character in that run, I just think she's so cool. I think she's such a really just so much character about. Anyway, yeah, so congratulations Bombstrike for almost winning so far the FSS Battle 3.0, but there is a final. Round 4!
Oh, there's a chill in the air.
13th mystery figure, baby! So we've made it to the final, and it's Bombstrike versus the mystery 13th figure,
Tengrun.
Frosted Tips. No, Frostbite. So who will win out? This is going to be tough. Only we have the power to decide that. Unless you want to do a podcast about this, then go for it. Adam first on this one, because I think I've gone to Justin about 8 times now. Adam, who are you going to give the win to out of Bombstrike and Frostbite? Because this, I mean, let's talk us through Frostbite first. Actually, let's all go through Frostbite. And then we'll all do the who wins it. So Adam, take us through Frostbite.
Well, there is something that you have to sign when you work in commercial art, which is called a non-disclosure agreement. And it means that any proprietary information you've seen, you can't tell a living soul about until it comes out. And I had to sign one for all of these. And, most of the time that's totally fine. I'm just quite content with keeping my mouth shut and pretending like I saw nothing. This figure is the one time that I think I was biting my lips so bad that it was bleeding. When I saw this figure several months before it was revealed, I mean, I was having convulsions. I could not believe how cool this was for a 13th figure. I think that it's standard practice to assume that the 13th figure is going to be cool, but not better than anything in the subscription. And when I saw this, I was like, is this a mistake? I couldn't even believe it. This should have been the membership figure. This could have been, the crown jewel of a convention set.
Or with a vehicle.
Yeah, this could have been the number one selling point of a subscription. I mean, this figure is so awesome in every way, shape, and form. Not only does he have a new head sculpt, which not even every figure in the subscription does, he also has a new secondary.
Which really is amazing, yeah.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And the build is such a cleverly put together combination of parts from such a variety of figures that it really perfectly matches the original, but it gives him a nice hefty build for the snowsuit. I mean, I don't even know where to start with this figure. The accessory loadout is amazing. You see a second use of Cross Country's wrench here in black, which was another tooled exclusively for the club, and this was only the second time we'd seen it. Obviously, he comes with the white Snake Eyes explosive pack, as well as 2 removable pistols and a rifle. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find a single negative thing to say about this figure, and I can't say that about any other figure in this line. I could have found something to say about every single one of them. I think that this figure is perfection. I think that he might be among the best G.I. Joes of the entire modern era from 2007 to now.
I can only agree. I can only mirror that. I mean, the fact that the goggles come down, the fact that he's got that wolf tampo, like the snowcat kind of tampo on there, just as he did on the original. I just think he's absolutely f***ing amazing. Like the color, I know he's just white effectively, but it's so effective. And the parts that Boss Fight did are just gorgeous and work so well. There's nothing I can say about this figure that hasn't already been said by Adam, or Justin will probably come up with something. But honestly, this is just, it's just exceptional. And you gave it 4.9 out of 5 stars, Justin. So we already know what you think about it. But... What was the slight thing you took off it?
I can't even imagine why it only got
accessories.
I'm gonna have to go read my review.
Yeah, what crawled up you that day, man? It used to be a 10 out of 5.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Go on, Justin. Take us through him.
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys said was true. It seems it's kind of a shame we had to go through this whole podcast just to find out who'd be in second place. But yeah, everything they did about this figure was fantastic. I mean, and it's funny too, because back in the 80s, I mean, who gave a crap about Frostbite?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like just this random background character. He was like everybody's 5th favorite Arctic figure back in the 80s. So.
Yeah, because you had Sub-Zero and Blizzard and Snowjob.
Iceberg, Cold Front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that they took, a largely forgettable character like this and spun it into one of the most highly desirable figures of the entire modern era is pretty impressive. And full credit to the designers who took this figure and just went all out and did just the right things, with the head sculpt and the fur kind of collar thing and including that rifle. And it's just an amazing figure. And, the club, I bet you any money, Savage and the club forever regrets, using this as a quote-unquote free 13th figure because, number one, they set this impossible standard for themselves that they were only going to disappoint everybody with in the years going forward. And that they didn't actually...
Spoiler alert!
that they didn't actually, find a way to make some money off of this one, because if they had produced a figure like this and sold it for $30 a pop carded or 35, they would have sold out probably 8 times over. But anyway, plus I think at the time, wasn't it the only 1985 figure that was missing or something?
Yeah,
or close?
Well, you filled out your lineup on General's Joe's when you took the picture.
Yeah.
So I think it was the only one, the only one hanging around.
So it just hit all marks and so yeah, it was a fantastic figure.
So we got to go through this process anyway. But Adam, who's your winner out of the two?
Well, I do have to say 2 more little tidbits about this figure. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but FSS 3 was so delayed, between when FSS 2 came out. I'm fairly certain that this figure was actually supposed to come out before the 2015 convention.
Yeah.
But that last shipment got delayed by a full month because of the convention. So in this kind of bummer twist, we actually got the Tiger Force repaint of this figure 1 month before we got the version.
Oh God, I remember that now.
And I think when everyone got that at the con, they were like, "Whoa, this is way too good to be in a 3-pack. He's going to be the 13th figure," And so I think that was kind of a little bit of a wind out of the sails moment.
Can I just say something about that Tiger Force figure as well? I bought it obviously at the convention when I flew over. And then I didn't get a chance to check anything because, you're just too busy enjoying yourself. And I was still a bit of a noob on the Joe Con scene at that stage. So I didn't really care that much about checking stuff. That changed shortly afterwards because when I got home and had to have everything shipped to me. So I didn't get it for a good couple of months after the show. Roma Collectibles, thankfully, they sent me a huge box of all my stuff after the show. It took a while to get there, as I said. I open it all up and I'm going nuts. This is amazing. I get Frostbite out and I'm like, he doesn't look as good as as I thought he was going to look. And there was no secondary. He didn't have the secondary with him. And I'm like looking through all the bags and everything. I'm like, where is it? So I messaged the club and I'm like, hi guys, I unfortunately they sent me one out the next day. So I was like, thank you so much.
You don't want to know what Dave Lane did to that thing before he put it in the package.
Well, it was a different color. But anyway, so I was really happy when I finally, managed to put Frostbite together. But goodness me, what an awesome figure! Yes, sorry, Adam, you were talking before. Is there another tidbit to get in there?
Yeah, the only other thing was that for such a, like we were saying, like a D-list character, I don't know if you guys have this information in front of you, but take a guess what version number this Frostbite is.
2.
It's got they did a Tiger Force version in the vintage line too,
Oh, yeah,
so it's got to be at least 3.
Yeah, you're right.
No, and then they did
4.
Battle Core, so 4 or 5. They did 2 different Battle Core versions, didn't they, or just 1?
Just 1.
And then there's Rise. Didn't they do one in Rise of Cobra too?
Oh my God, I'm getting schooled here.
Oh my! So yeah, this is like what, 8 maybe 7?
So, despite how fresh and new this figure feels and how excited we are to get him, would you believe that this is actually Frostbite version 14?
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
So is this counted as after Tiger Force?
Yeah, this is still, as of current, the most recent version is version 14.
Wow.
But I think that really speaks to just how definitive this figure is. Like the fact that he's so drastically overshadowed anything else. This is now our go-to version. I mean, to me, this now surpasses all other versions by a country mile. So I guess with that said, as great of a figure as Bombstrike is, and she really is, Frostbite absolutely runs away with this. I think that it's twice the figure Bombstrike is, and possibly the best FSS figure of all time.
Ooh, well, don't ruin it completely. We've still got
Yeah, we don't have to record any more episodes. It's been one.
I said possibly.
What about you, Justin?
Yeah, I echo everything. Besides, I'm still flabbergasted that there's 13 other versions of Frostbite.
No, considering I went 2 and completely forgot there was a Tiger Force version, at least. At least. There's 2 of them. There's got to be. Anyway, I'm a Go carry on. Justin.
But no, I mean he's absolutely right. It's one of the best, if not the best, FSS figures that's ever been made, and I guess people have to tune into future episodes to find out if it is the best FSS figure that's ever been made. But it's just really a fantastic overall update to the original. Got some great new parts. They really killed it, and I can't believe I forgot about the Valor versus Venom Frostbite and the new sculpt Frostbite. I'm on Yojo right now looking through all those.
I was gonna have a look, but I thought I trust you. if I can't even remember the minimum, there should be 4 versions. At minimum, there should be 4. That's just
Joe
ridiculous.
versus Cobra had that awful T-crotch one, and 2 different versions of that.
Yeah,
3 different versions of that.
God. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Frostbite 2, not because I desperately want a divorce, but because exactly the same things you guys are saying. When he came out as a 13th, I remember thinking, oh, that's more like it. And I think everyone did. I think everyone said this is what the 13th should be, a really important figure that we need in our collection, even though we didn't know we needed it in our collection. Again, Frostbite was that character. Like, no one, like, you're right, nobody really cared as such. I don't think that I take that. That's a strong thing. I think they care about Frostbite. I mean, I care about Frostbite, but at the same time, he's almost Xandar. And I mean, as in Xandar's character, like he disappears into the background, and you don't, again, he's all white, so he just camouflages really well on the snow. So he just kind of like doesn't stand out necessarily. But obviously, being a driver, that's another element of it. A lot of the drivers get missed. A lot of the drivers get like kind of almost, but it's because you've got the Ore Striker crankcase, or it's because you've got the Havoc cross country, or it's because you've got anyone, Ace. But you only really, think of Ace in the Sky Striker. So it's like, I don't know. That's probably why for me. But anyway, Bomb Strike did an amazing job. Anyway, of getting to the final. I'm happy for the character and the figure. A little bit sad about Big Ben, but at the end of the day, the winner is Frostbite. Congratulations. And that's it for the 3rd episode of the Full Force FSS Battle. Join us again soon for the 4th installment, when we will do the same to FSS 4.0. Thanks to my awesome co-hosts, Justin and Adam, and thanks to you all for watching/listening. Full Battle Force.
It gets a lot easier from here.